G'day everyone, another Back to Basics video. Firstly, I would like to say thanks for everyone who's given me suggestions for Back to Basics videos. I've had some really good suggestions, and this is actually one of them. This was a question someone asked through the web store about, and the question was basically what tools do I need to get started building guitar pedals? So I'm going to expand on that question a little bit and say, what's the minimum tools that you need to build a guitar pedal? So that's what we're going to be looking at. So without going into every single little thing like a pair of scissors, a piece of paper, those things are common household tools. I'm talking about specific to electronics. And I want to start with hand tools. Now the first things that you're going to need as far as hand tools go are wire strippers. These are moderately optional. You could just use scissors to strip wire, but I found that it's quite unreliable, and if you cut into the actual strands of wire and make the diameter of the wire thin, you can often break. It's much easier to break a wire doing that. So I would suggest using wire strippers and well, learning how to use them too. Make sure that you use the right AWG for the same problem that I just mentioned with when you're cutting with scissors. You can cut into the wire strands and make a weak point. Wire strippers you're going to need. I'd say that's probably one of, these are the essential tools. I'd say that's probably pretty much an essential tool. I'd also say, this is my opinion, of course, some people use different tools than what I'm showing here, but this is what I would say are my essential minimalist tool set. Needlenose pliers for routing wire and bending lugs, putting things through, yada yada yada. You need and also bending the component, the resistor legs and things like that to get a nice sharp bend. You use those. Also, you'll need some side cutters for cutting off the legs, cutting off component legs in general, cutting things down to size, cutting sockets when you've got a single inline sockets. I find the side cutters are good because they make a nice clean cut, as opposed to trying to snap them with needle-nose pliers. They tend to break and you end up losing one of the sockets in that way. So you use side cutters a lot, cutting wire, all that sort of stuff. And you're going to make a mistake eventually. It's going to happen, and you've got to have some way of getting the solder out of the hole and cleaning up solder. And the cheapest way to do that would be solder wick, but I don't think it's very good. I don't particularly like solder wick. If you've got flux and solder wick, it can be a little bit more effective, but honestly, for the sake of 15 bucks, just get a solder sucker. I've spoke about this particular solder sucker before actually. I'll just say it again. You could probably see the model number on there. I'll read it out as well. It is a SS750LS. It's a really good solder sucker. It's yeah, I've spoke about this in another video, so I won't go too much into it, but a decent solder sucker. Don't get one of those metal ones from your local electronics shop. Just look online and buy one online. Get a proper one. Any solder sucker will do, really. I mean, I used one of those metal ones for years, and I mean, it wasn't the best solder sucker, but it did the job. So just get a solder sucker, just so you can fix up those mistakes. And believe it or not, that is it for the hand tools. And of course, you're going to need a cup of tea. I mean, a soldering iron. And I've spoke about this soldering iron as well, PX232. It's a Goot, which is a good brand. Don't have to particularly get this soldering iron. Just get any soldering iron that's got a pencil tip on the end. I'm keeping this basic because I know when you get into a hobby, people start throwing all these requirements. I'll get the best soldering iron you could possibly get. You spend $300 on a soldering iron, you build one pedal, and you never use it again. All right. I don't attack a hobby like that. I tend to just get the basic stuff and make sure that I'm actually interested in the hobby first, and then I start upgrading. That's just how I do it. So get any soldering iron with a pencil tip. You don't even particularly need a holster like this. You can just get one of those. They usually come with like one of those little plastic, like a little plastic base with a wire tip rest that you can rest it on like that. You don't need something fancy like that. You don't even need one of these waterless tip cleaners. You can just use a piece of sponge with some water on it, so like an old-fashioned sponge, like with the holes and stuff in it. One of those with some water and clean the tip like that. You'll need some solder, which is well, what I've got here is 0.7 millimeter, and use the lead solder. Don't use the non-lead stuff because it's just too hard to work with. So you'll need some of that as well, and try and get that diameter or around that diameter. Don't go too thick, don't go over 1 mil. It's just too thick. It goes on too fast that it gets blobby. So you need something that's going to be a bit thinner. I'm talking about through hole here as well, I should mention. Not SMD, SMT, that's a different kettle of fish. So believe it or not, that'll get you a completed effect. So you'll have the effect that you can test. The board, the components, I'll show you. This. You'll have the board, the pots, everything soldered on. You can test it. The wires coming off, you can test it from those wires, right? That's where we're at that point. That's what those tools have got us to, that point. Now we've got to put this inside an enclosure. What tools do you need to do that? Believe it or not, you don't need any tools. If you buy a raw enclosure like this, unpainted, undrilled, you're going to need paint, you're going to need a drill, a hand drill, a drill press. You're going to need other tools. If you buy one that's pre-painted and pre-drilled, you don't need any of that stuff. All you're going to need is a can of spray paint, clear coat, and a water slide decal. If you want to do that, if you don't want to put any labels on it or anything, you don't have to. You won't need anything. All you can do is get your enclosure with your drill holes in it, and that's it. You can actually use to tighten the nuts up on the hardware. You can actually just use. Sometimes when I'm lazy, I do this. You can just use the end to tighten up the nuts. I can't think of anything else. A bit of hot glue is good. Not essential, but you can use a bit of hot glue to keep the LED in place and things like that, and protect the wires. And like sometimes I use a bit of hot glue on the effect board just so that they don't snap at the stress point. But you don't need that. Again, that's not essential. That's optional. So you don't need anything for the hardware side if you buy it pre-drilled and pre-painted. You can get those from Pedal Parts Plus or Mammoth, two places that have pre-drilled, pre-painted enclosures. If you want to do, I mean, obviously this is not the cheapest way to do it because they're expensive when you're paying for the service of having it painted and pre-drilled, right? You're paying for that service. If you couldn't be bothered with it, pay for the service. Have it done for you. If you want to do the complete process, let's talk about drilling first. You're going to need I don't recommend a hand drill. In fact, I'm not even going to talk about hand drills because I think they're quite unsafe. I don't want to actually come across as advocating hand drills. I've nearly injured myself with a hand drill once, way back when I first started doing it, and after that incident I went and bought a drill press and never had a problem since. Basically, if you're going with a hand drill, sometimes they're difficult to control the speed. If you're using like a HSS drill bit, like high speed steel or whatever they're called, drill bit, just the normal type, with the spiral, and it gets caught, the pedal can spin because it's difficult to control the speed. The pedal can spin around, and mine flew off. I've also had them break, shatter the actual enclosure. It's actually ripped metal out of the enclosure. They're just not safe. Use a drill press, and drill presses these days actually aren't even that expensive. Any drill press is going to do for pedal building. I mean, this stuff is soft metal. You don't need something that's like made for a machine shop. You just need the most piece of crap drill press you can get, and it will still do the job fine. Mine's a Ryobi. You probably may have seen it in my other videos. It was like $100 and I splurged. I had other options, 60, 50, but I went for something that was a bit, I went for Ryobi because I just thought the other stuff was no-name brand stuff. I just wanted to get something that would last a bit longer than probably the no-name stuff would, maybe. So you get it, so forget the hand drill, right? You're gonna need a drill press and you're gonna need a step bit. Google step bit, you'll see what they look like. They're basically like a drill bit that progressively gets bigger. So you'll need both of those things and obviously something to clamp it down while you're doing your drilling. but that's all you need to drill out the holes. I can't think of anything else that you'd need. A step bit that goes up to 12 mil for the bit larger foot switch. But that's it that you'd need for the drilling. And then with the painting, you just need a can of spray paint. You know, you can just use oil paint. You can use metal effect paints. You can use Rust-Oleum, I think, is one that is popular in the US. Rust-Oleum, which is a really heavy duty paint. It's got like I think it's got like a metal effect finish on it as well. Yeah, that's all you need. Also, with the whole finishing thing, if you want to do an easy option to finish, you can use those sticker labels I've got on my web store. They're like a 3D looking sticker, and you can just you just put them on. I've done a video on this. You can just put them on, you know, like gain, vol for volume, you know, and you can just stick those on. It's a way to finish it, easy way to finish your pedals as well. Probably the easiest way to label a pedal I can think of, which is why I've got them on my web store. I can't think of an easier way to do it. Water slides get a bit technical. They're not that hard either, but the stickers are just, you just place them on, you know. A child could do it, it's that easy. So that is the essential tool set. I cannot think of anything else that you'd need. The drill press, again, is optional. You don't even need that stuff. All you're going to need is the stuff in the first half of the video about the hand tools and the soldering iron. That's actually all you need. It's to get the minimum set. It's a pretty small list. As you go, you can add to it. You know, like you'll see on the forums, people talking about tools and things. You might upgrade to a drill press. Sort of start to think to yourself, well, it's costing me $4 or $5 to get someone else to drill it. If I build 10 pedals, I've paid for a drill press. I'll just go and get one. You know, but you can do that down the track. You don't have to do that straight away. Build up your tools. You know, I mean, I've got a powder coating gun in the garage. I've got my drill press and all my drill bits and all that sort of stuff as well. You know, I've obviously got a lot of components at my disposal. You build up your stuff as you go along, you know, you get better soldering irons. I've got a oscilloscope, a digital oscilloscope, a very good multimeter. You know, I've added to those over the years. I didn't just go out and buy all that stuff straight up. Oh, actually, a multimeter. Now, it's probably not, believe it or not, people are going to disagree with me on this, but I'd almost go as far as saying it's not essential to have a multimeter. If you have a pedal that's dead, usually it's because you've done a soldering error, not because you've put in the wrong value or something like that, or there's a component that's broken. It's not usually the case. You can usually solve it without the multimeter. But a multimeter is good, particularly with capacitance range, so that you can check the values of the components that you're putting into your PCB. So I'm on the border with that one, whether it's essential or not, but you should get one anyway, and particularly because you can get pretty much any just basic multimeter is going to be fine for pedal construction, and they cost $5 at your local JCar/Radio Shack or whatever your electronic shop is. You can get it for $5 or $10. Just go and get one because you're going to use it, and then upgrade it later when you want to get something fancy like, you know, my BK Precision or a Fluke or whatever. Get those later on. Just get a basic multimeter. It'll help. It'll definitely help because you can check the resistor values and make sure that you're not putting the wrong resistor in the wrong slot on your the wrong placement on your PCB. So yeah, I'm gonna put multimeter in as a pretty essential thing too. You might get through without one for your first couple of pedals, but it's a matter of time before you're going to need one. I can tell you now. You may need one on your first pedal. You're just rolling the dice, so you might as well just get one. So that's it. That is the complete essential list. We've really only had about 8 items on there that were actually essential. So you don't need that much to get started. You're probably going to be looking, I reckon, you could probably get away with it, maybe $50 or $60 for all that stuff, depending on what quality, where you get them from, etc. But it's probably only about $50 or $60 for all that stuff, and you'd probably be using that stuff for the first 10 pedals before you're going to need anything else anyway. So it's everything else is pretty much optional from then on. So that's it. Hope it helped narrow down your list. this video turned out to be a bit longer than the other Back to Basics videos because it is a broad topic. We're talking about, you know, every tool that you're going to need to build a pedal pretty much, and what you need. So it's a bit of a broader topic. So I had to talk a bit more on this one, but all the same, hope it's kind of got you where you need to be mentally as far as getting the tools that you need to start your first pedal. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more Back to Basics videos and guitar pedal related videos and electronics related videos.